Okay, so we're talking about composite figures, and this is day 2. So I want to look at these figures. So like I want to look, for example, on the front of the page, we have a composite figure right here. This shape, if you break it down a little bit, it has a shape of a rectangle, and then it has that semicircle or half circle at the top, okay? So let's talk about some things we know from this, okay? We know that this side down here is 8, so that makes the diameter of this 8 also, okay? But what do we need for a circle? It's when we're talking only about area right now, so we need to know the radius. So if the diameter is 8, then the radius is 4. It's half that diameter, okay? So I have 2 figures, so I need 2 formulas. My first formula is going to be area equals base times height. That's going to be for that rectangle. My second formula is going to be area equals pi r squared divided by 2. Okay, so 2 formulas, 2 figures, we're going to find each. Okay, so my first figure is going to be my rectangle here, okay? So I have a base of 8 and a height of 12. Okay, so 8 times 12 would be 96. Okay, so that is this part of the figure. We figured that out. Now we go to that circle, okay? Make sure you're taking it step by step. So my first thing would be to sub in my numbers. 3.14 for pi. I figured out my radius is 4 squared. And then I'm going to divide it by 2 because we're only doing half the circle, remember? Okay, so I'm going to fill out my order of operations, which would be 4 squared, which is 16, divided by 2. Okay, I showed you earlier this step. I said that I don't want to have to multiply by 16 and then divide by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and take that divide by 2 out, and I can already take that step. It makes it simpler for me. So I don't know this, but I do know that 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I'm just going to multiply 3.14 times 8, and that's going to give me my answer. So I'm going to come over here to the side and do 3.14 times 8. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 1 plus 3 is 11. And then 8 times 3 plus 1 is 25. And we count 1, 2, 1, 2. So my answer is 25.12. So that is my second answer, okay? So what do I do with those? Now I have the rectangle, I have the semicircle, and then I add them. So I'm going to say 96 plus 25.12. Important thing with decimals, you have to line up the dot, okay? So I don't have anything up there, so I drop it down, and I got 121. Okay, let's look at my directions. It says round to answer to 2 decimal places. Okay, so we're already at 2 decimal places, so we don't have to do anything, okay? So my answer is going to be, I'm going to come back over here on my sheet, and I'm going to say 121.12 feet squared, okay? So we just broke that down piece by piece. I wrote both formulas, I solved, I broke it down, okay? So I'm going to do this next one, which is number 2, okay? So I'm going to have it right there. I'm going to slide my paper up a little bit, okay? So number 2. Now, I have 2 shapes. Break it down. Draw you a picture. Draw you some lines. I see that this is a rectangle, and then this is a triangle, okay? So I'm going to do 2 formulas. Base times height. Okay, and then base times height divided by 2 because I have a rectangle and a triangle. Okay, so let's do the rectangle because that's the simplest one first, okay? So my rectangle is base. I'm going to say this is the base. It doesn't matter. It's 8. Okay, my height is going to be 13 because that's how far it is from here to here, okay? So 13 times 8 is 104. Okay, so my area of my rectangle is 104. Okay. Going too fast? A little bit? Okay, I'll try to slow down. Did the first one go too fast? Huh? Okay. Okay, so my shape here, triangle. Okay, so looking at my triangle, if this is 8, then this is 8. And that 8 is the base of my triangle. Okay, so I'm going to say 8. Okay, now my height, here's where it gets tricky. Okay, the whole thing from this to the tip, from the here to the tip is 19, but this section is 13. So what does that mean that this section right here is? 6. So that is the height of my triangle. So I'm going to say 8 times 6 and then divide by 2. Okay, so I can cover that up because I kind of got where I have everything. Okay, I can simplify it or I can just multiply and then divide because it's easy. It's easier numbers, right? Not easy numbers, but easier. Okay, so I can do 8 divided by 2, which is what? 4. 4 times 6 is, how about 24? Okay. Okay, I could have done 8 times 6 is 48. 48 divided by 2 is 24. Either way will work. When I have pi, though, it makes it simpler if I can reduce it. Yes? Yes. Okay. Okay, so I have 2 shapes. I have this one right here, which is 104. Then I have my second shape with the triangle, which is 24. Okay, so 104 plus 24 is 8 to 1. Okay, 128. So my answer is going to be 128 inches squared. Okay, and I wrote that right there on number 2. Okay, that's where I'm going to stop on the front page. So I kind of showed you 2 examples on the front. You're going to do 3, 4, 5, and 6 here in just a minute, but I want you to flip to the back of the page because here's where it's going to change skills a little bit. Okay, it's still the same idea, but we're going to change. Okay, notice there's some different shapes here. Okay, there's some things where we're going to take out some missing pieces. So like this one, we're only going to worry about the shaded area. So this one we have a triangle and then we have a circle taken out of it, and we're only going to worry about the shaded area. Here we have a circle with a triangle in the middle. We're only going to worry about the shaded area. I can do things with some of these other pieces that are missing and do it that way. So how do we take out a missing piece? What are we doing? What operation? Subtract. So let's work one like that for just a second. Okay, so if we're working with subtraction here, we're going to start with the shape, okay? So I'm going to start with a triangle, for example, okay? So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to say, well, my formulas are base times height divided by 2. And then my inside piece is going to be pi r squared because it is a circle, right? Okay, so once I find each piece, then I'm going to subtract these this time. Aaron. Okay, so first things first, let's do the triangle. So my base on the triangle is 30. My height on the triangle is 30. And then I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay, I know what 30 times 30 is off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply that. So I'm going to say 30 times 30 is 900. 900 divided by 2 is 450. So that is the area of my triangle. Okay. Okay, so now I have my big piece. Now I'm going to find my circle, and then I'm going to subtract the 2. So circle, I know pi is 3.14. My radius, it defines it for me. It says 10, so 10 squared. Okay, order of operations tells me exponent first. What's 10 squared?
5.
How about 100? 10 times 10? 100. Okay, so 3.14 times 100. Okay, what's 3.14 times 100? It's going to be 314. Okay, so it's 314. So that is the area of my circle. Okay, now we're going to do what we said before. We're going to take 450 and subtract 314. Okay, 10 minus 4 is 6. 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So my answer here is going to be 136 meters squared. Okay, I'm actually going to do number 2. That's going to be the last example I do, so let's do number 2 together real quick. Okay, so 2. Now here's kind of a different idea. You can do this and you could break it down into 2 little triangles. I would just close this off. Do you see it? Find the area of a rectangle and then take out the one triangle instead of finding the area of the rectangle, finding this triangle and this triangle. Does that make sense? So I would just take out the one. So let's look at that. So if I said base times height for my rectangle, because I'm going to close this off, and then I would do base times height divided by 2 on the second one. Okay, so base times height. Base is 5. My height is 13. And I got 65 for the area of the rectangle if I close this off. Okay. Now, my triangle. Okay, so if this is 5, then this is 5, and that would be the base of the triangle. Now, the height here, it kind of breaks it down for us. It tells us it's what? 6. So we'd say 5 times 6 divided by 2. So 30 divided by 2, which is 15. Okay, now what am I going to do? I'm going to subtract. Okay, why am I subtracting? Because remember, we only want the shaded region. Okay, so we're going to say 65 minus 15, and we got 50 feet squared. Okay, notice there's several like this. Like, for example, you could do that with number 6. You could do that with number 7. Okay, this one you're going to do a circle and take out the triangle. These other ones you're just going to have to find the pieces and break it down into different pieces. But just to kind of give you an idea. So what you're going to do is you're going to complete those on the front that we didn't do, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the back. So it's a total of 11 problems. Okay, take it piece by piece. I have a key that I made. You're more than welcome to come look at it and say, okay, no, I didn't get that right. Let's see what I did wrong. But I have to see your work to be able to do that, okay?